a mass appraisal, so we get an appeal, and we kind of back up and look at it a different way. And the looking at it a different way did come down to that new value of 2.612, a more focus on the individual parcel as opposed to the neighborhood as a whole. And in this neighborhood, this is an unusual home. The homes around it don't typically look like this one.
Success in the last couple of months.
Felt like we got a better value when we did more of a laser focused on just superior quality homes.
Okay, can I ask you another question then? I'm looking at the subject property, and then I would look at comp one. Does it not look similar to y'all as pretty much?
It is the same home. It sold in
Yeah.
2018. We used it as one of the comps, not the only comp, but as one
But
of
it
the
sold in
comps.
2018 for 2.3 million.
It did.
Okay, and prices didn't go up after that from 2018
Well, it
to
did.
219 to
If you look,
220.
if you continue down that comp one list, you'll see an adjustment of $313,000 at the very bottom, which we believe is a time adjustment that prices have increased about 6% a year. We got that from the Case-Shiller regional outlook.
Yeah.
So we took the 2.3, which was in July of 18, ran it forward to 1/1/2021. Believe there was a $313,000 increase in the market value in that point, just because of time.
Up in that area.
In the
Up in that
Charlotte
area.
market as a whole, we
Oh, you
don't
just
have any
went on.
finer than that. So
Right,
that's where we came up to 2.613 off the $2.3 million sale. Is, yes, we recognize the world has changed in those 18 months, and we did try to account for it.
Well, that's kind of what I thought too. And from the beginning, talking about 218 values and man, how it really shot in 219 and 220 and still going today.
Right, and that's why we made a time
Moving up.
adjustment. That very lowest line down there are time adjustments. You don't typically see that in our
No,
sales
you don't.
comparison. We did it on this one because we had a hard time finding recent similar homes. So the decision we made, there were a couple different ways we could have gone. The decision we made to go is go with older homes and adjust for time, as opposed to going to lower quality homes and adjusting for quality.
Okay. I don't have any more questions for the county.
Okay. Are you got any more questions? Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Drew, you have any more comments before we move on?
Just, I don't agree with the location analysis, but we'll just leave it at that.
All right, thank you.
Tab number 2, parcel ID number 09198017, KLJ Properties LLC.
You can zoom out if you'd like. You need to.
Alan, can you scan out a little bit?
Yeah, I have no clue where this is.
It's in Oakland Forest, which is right across the street from the Monroe Middle School. It's the road that goes down beside Oakland Baptist Church, Mark.
I know, I see Medlin Road.
You see right here where
Yeah.
my cursor is, you see
I
Monroe
do.
Middle School?
Yep.
And then right here's Oakland Baptist Church.
Okay, so you
And then
go
it's
down.
this road, there's a road that comes down, it's not even a paved road, it's a chip seal road, what you call tar and gravel.
Yeah, I know. I'm
And
familiar with the road.
So this was a lot that your mom owned beside of her home, or Andy did, or what?
yeah, this is a
Yeah.
lot that Andy and Sue had bought years ago, and we've had it on the market now for about 5 years. And literally it's super hard to sell because one, of the school system. You don't have the drawing card of a Porter Ridge or a Piedmont or a Weddington or whatever, and you don't have sewer. And so the perkability out there is a real issue on that piece of property. So I would suspect that lot may not even perk. But the bottom line is it's been on the market for a while and we haven't had so much as an offer on it.
Right.
So I don't really think it's gonna bring 32.5. I mean, we've considered just donating it or just, I don't know what, but it's just holding the earth together right now.
But
No-
your opinion is 29.6,
Yes,
and the county has it at 32.5,
yes.
all right?
I'm okay with 29.6.
Yeah, I'm just saying to you, I wanted to make sure it was, you
Yeah.
don't have a problem with what you wrote.
No,
down.
I don't have a problem with what, I
Right,
mean, it's,
good.
it's still a gamble, Mark, but,
Oh,
you know,
there's not water down that way. Is that your family home place down there? at the
It
end of
was.
It
Yep.
was. I knew there was,
yep, right below it where
I'm
the
pretty
cursor is, where that handprint is.
right.
And the wells down there are not super, I remember my dad always struggled getting enough water out of that well and,
Yeah.
you know, getting a place to perk.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's a decent,
So
it
who
seems to
owns
be
all that
decent on
land
paper.
around there?
What's that?
Drew, who owns all that land around there?
Frank Howard.
Is it Frank Howard?
You talking about this up here?
Where your lot is?
Marion, it's just various different owners.
Okay.
Just a variety of owners. And then that big piece up there was bought by Marion Cox
Did
from
Marion
what
buy it? Okay.
from what I understand.
Uh-huh.
And he's tried to find several developers who would
Would
take
walk
on the
in.
development, but just from a location standpoint, there's not that much desirability for homes there.
So how far does the water come down off of Sunset just to, where does
It doesn't come down at all.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't come into that neighborhood whatsoever. Every home out there is on a well.
It
But
comes-
the church is on the water.
I'm assuming
do
so
they
just
have a
because
well?
they have frontage on Sunset.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
obviously, they had to have water to the middle school there, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying that. I knew there's
And
water.
the apartments on the right entrance
Uh-huh.
have
Yeah.
water.
Yep, I would think so. Okay,
This lot, so it doesn't have frontage on that, on that road?
It's got frontage on the side road. If you zoom in
Oh,
on it,
okay, I got you
Okay.
now.
there's
I
that little
see it.
hickory nut circle.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Yeah, Tommy Harris lives on the other end.
Yeah, Tommy lives
Yeah.
right here where the cursor is, I think.
okay, now
on
you
that
can see
corner.
the houses. Now you can see the houses. There are houses in there.
Right.
Okay, that helps a lot too, knowing. I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Ray, you got any questions for Mr. Boggs on this one? We'll hear from the county now. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, I provided you two sales that occurred. This neighborhood here, as you can see, it's very small. It's historically been always combined when we've done our reappraisals with Lakeview Estates right down the street over here, right here.
Okay.
So these two vacant sales that I provided you, one was waterfront, one was not waterfront, and that's how we priced all these lots here. And what I did was looking at the allocation method of improved sales in this neighborhood. We took 20%, which is typical across the county, and these sales supported, or the allocation method supported these sales. So we actually used the vacant lot sales that we had, the two that we had here, to price waterfront versus non-waterfront.
Okay, now where is the waterfront that you're talking about?
This is down here.
Okay, there
Yes,
you go.
yeah.
That helps me. So like these down here at the bottom of this thing, right?
Yes.
Y'all called it Lake?
Yeah, the
Waterfront.
lakefront, yeah.
And then the houses that go, let's just say past Lakewood Drive back, now you're going back up. Mm-hmm. Those are called just lots.
Yeah, like non-lakefront, I
So
think
you
probably
made a
had.
difference in value.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see the difference in the sales price.
Oh, sure.
On these two. I mean, it's a big difference, so.
And the homes are different too.
Mhm, yeah, they are,
I think
they are.
they are.
They are, yeah. These are, you know.
Really nice things.
Yes.
Okay.
Ray, any questions for the county? Mark?
No, sir.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Tab number 3, parcel ID number 09-201-005, Carl and Martha Boggs.
We're gonna have to get new carpet where you're sitting at, Drew, to the podium.
Say again, Randy?
Back and forth.
That's, we're gonna have to get new carpet. You're gonna wear out a path.
And this one's located right in the same little neighborhood here.
Okay, same neighborhood, same,
Yeah, this is my parents' old house. Kind of the same, I'm gonna refer back to the one comp he just used too, that kind of goes along with this one. Lakeview has paved streets. They're maintained by others. I'm not sure, I'd ask the question as to whether Lakeview has water and or sewer. I don't know if they do or not. And so anyway, that's one of the differences in the two. But this one was built in 1980. Everything in it is original. It's never been really a major renovation. It absolutely needs a new roof. The water's very poor. All the same arguments with that other lot. We've tried to sell it for years and years and haven't had any success.
The home place you tried to sell?
Yes, and just haven't had so much as an offer. So with that being said, it doesn't appear that there's a very high demand for this piece of property in this home. And it's really, really dated. And whoever buys it would have to buy it at a low price point because they'd need to spend a couple of $100,000 bringing it up to current standards.
Where did the house there, did Bob Holland, is that his house at the end?
I believe that was Bob Holland's house. I
Okay.
think it was.
Yeah.
I don't even know who lives there now, Randy, or if it's sold, or I have no
Yeah,
idea. I've never looked into it.
After Bob passed away, I lost touch, yeah.
I did too.
How many acres is it?
That particular lot is 5 acres.
That's a nice sized lot.
It is. It's a nice lot. Obviously, there's no more
Yeah, I know.
buildable area on it because there's a couple of really big gullies and there's a stream behind it and there's a severe terrain drop off on the backside adjacent to the Sally Mike Farms property.
Yeah.
And then right in front of the house, in between the house and the road, there's a big gully with a blue line running down through it. So there's really no more buildable area on that piece of property, but it is a nice big tract.
Okay. Drew, you got what, 275.6 on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the county's 324.5.
Yes.
All right. And you've tried to sell it, what would you put it on the market for? What?
We've tried it everywhere. We started up in the 4s,
I agree.
years and years ago, and then we've just brought it down and down and down.
No
and-
nibbles. All right.
And not even had an offer on it.
Okay.
Is it still for sale, Drew?
I don't think we've got a current listing on it just because we kind of gave up. And like when a car gets on the lot and it stays out there too long, they
Yeah,
call
take
it
it off.
stale.
Yeah.
So,
You wholesale it and move on, yeah.
I mean,
It's a car.
we could donate it or something. I mean, I don't know, we just kind of at a loss of what to,
You rent it right now?
yes,
What's the monthly rent?
we're not getting any rent. It's just kind of a take care of it and,
Oh,
trying to keep it from going down.
smart.
Because if you got it, at least if it's occupied, there's, some degree of maintenance going on with
How
it.
many houses do you have in that area? In that little neighborhood? Can you come out a little bit on this picture, please? So
I can do that for you.
Oh, you're doing it? Oh, good. I didn't know you were.
Well, that's a little cursor up here.
That's good. I just want to see how many homes,
I mean,
so
there-
these are all the homes starting right here, we'll just say, coming down through all the trees.
So Mark, start right here where the
Okay.
cursor is after that 90-degree
Got it.
curve. And this is a lot, has
Yeah.
a house on it. I don't know if there's one at the end right here that's vacant
Right.
or if the property line goes in between, but there's one house right here. Then you got this one, which was Dan and Jean Johnson's
Yeah.
house. There's one here.
Yep.
I think that was Eddie Ginn.
Yep.
That was Eddie Ginn's former in-laws.
All right.
And
So
then
do y'all
this
have
was,
a homeowners association? Or, when you talk about the road, I understand it's the state's not maintaining it, or the city and state don't maintain it. The only people, tar and gravel, that kind of thing you were talking
I
about.
think it was never an official homeowners association because it was done so long ago.
Okay.
I think what the property owners out there have done is when that road needed chip sealing, whether they all just threw some money in the
Yeah.
hat. And,
Okay.
but there's no official homeowners association that's got
Right.
bylaws and all that good stuff.
All right. I don't have any questions.
Ray, anything?
Yeah, you got 275.6 on this. Where'd you get that number from?
I think it was the old value.
Oh,
I think let me look and see, and I can answer that more.
The old tax value?
That was the old tax value. I just said, let's leave it the same, because it sure ain't coming up. You know, and in the spirit of compromise, I just thought using the old one would probably suffice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Alan?
And I got the parcel layer on there, so you guys can see that. Apologize for
Oh,
that.
good, thanks.
Yeah, should have done that before.
That's all right.
Provided a sales comparison report here. Used homes, similar grade, similar size, similar year built. We made our normal adjustments on here. We currently have 324,500. Sales comparison report came $100 less than that, based on these comps that I used.
And are these comps in that other neighborhood? or-
There, if you look on the first page has the map, so there's some from the Lakeview Estates. This
Okay.
yeah.
I'm looking at the map.
You see it, okay.
Thanks. Okay. All right. But you feel good about the county's value on this one? You didn't change this one?
Correct, yeah, I didn't change it because the report came in right at what we had it, and so I felt, yeah, there was no reason to change it. And there was no other information provided to warrant a change.
Okay.
On your comps.
Yes.
number one, you've got this as a good minus. The rest of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, can you turn your mic on, please?
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Did I now?
It's on.
Okay. Did you hear what I said, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So, you looked at his house, and you still value that, or grade that as a good, rather than a good minus?
Based on the information I had, yes,
When you say information you had, is that a visual,
yeah, the picture we had on file, like I said, I wasn't given any other information as far as what the interior looked like or anything. So yeah, that's what I mean by based on what I had, the exterior photo that we had, based on these comps that I used.
Okay,
here.
thank you.
Yes.
All right, so you got this home and you got Lakewood. One has public utilities, one doesn't have any public utilities. Did you give any value, lesser value to the home that have no public utilities?
No, we did not make an adjustment for that.
Okay.
And that's based on, those comps also had utilities, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they did or not.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, guys.
Tab number 4, parcel ID number 09301291, Box Properties LLC.
This property is on Mackenzie Lane off of Old Charlotte Highway, and Rocky River Road is right here. So it's just down the street from there.
Let's see. All right. What was across the street? Give me is that church?
It is.
That church,
Sits back a ways.
I remember the name of it, yeah.
There it is. Yeah, that church is right across the
Okay.
street, Randy. You're
There it
right.
is.
Yep.
Okay, I got you. Open Book, that's the name, I believe, it's called
Yep.
Open Book Baptist.
That's it. So looking at this one, this home was built in 1999, very dated. It's a rental property. I think we're renting it for $650 or $700 a month. Not maintained, needs updating. Not as good of a location as some of the comps. Some of the comps are over more closer to Weddington Road, which may even be in a separate school district, but I think this one's in the city of Monroe. I mean, a decent neighborhood, but certainly not, one that would bear a higher market value. The other negative I see is it's right out on the highway. As you can see in the photo, there's a dump truck running down right in front of it right now, so it's obviously a noisy place to live. There's a lot of traffic. There's no landscape berm or border. There's no fence. I mean, it's not going to bring. We've even tried to sell it to the guy we're leasing it to, and he won't even buy it. So, it's just, it is what it is. It's a cheap rental house.
Ray, got any questions, Mr. Boggs?
So what was that grant again? How much you renting it for?
It's either $650 or $700. I can't remember the
Okay,
exact
that's
figure.
All right. And then how big is the house?
1,200 feet.
Okay, thank you.
So your estimate of value is 103?
Yes, sir. And again, same answer as last time. That was the old value. If I could find somebody to give me that, I'd take it.
I was just about to say that you can't buy a shack for under $100,000 in this environment we're living in.
That's about what that is.
Wow.
I'd be scared to walk inside of it, but
Okay. Thank you, sir.
yes, sir.
Mark, you got any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Alan?
All right, again, provided a sales comparison report on this one. House was built in 1999. All the comps were also built in the 90s, except for comp 4 is 2000, so relatively close, just a year later. Similar grade. Was not provided any information, again, about interior, or condition or anything like that. Wasn't mentioned in the appeal, so try to find comps. I think these comps were pretty good, based on, again, the information I had based on the subject. And we currently have 166,100. Sales comparison report came in at 196,900, so quite a bit higher than what we even have on it.
And I would like to point out, every one of the comps is within 1 mile of the subject.
And these are actual sales, right?
Yes.
Right, Phil?
And all from 2020 as well, sales.
Any questions, Ray?
No, sir.
Mark?
Did you know it was a rental property?
I did not know.
Okay. I don't have any questions. No, sir.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, guys.
Tab number 5, parcel ID number 06174195195, Krista and Carl Boggs.
The subject property is located in the Longview Subdivision.
Drew, you got a copy of that appraisal that was just done on your home?
I do not, and the reason I don't is because that's a current appraisal, and we're going all the way back here to January, and the market's changed significantly
Fair enough.
since January. But more importantly, what I really want to bring up here is this home was built in 07, 08. It's not had one update. It needs hardwood floors, it needs tile, it needs HVAC, it needs a new roof, it needs painting interior and exterior. I had an offer, it's not on the market, but I had an unsolicited offer from a guy inside the neighborhood there who wanted to buy the home. He offered me $1.8 million for it, and he showed me an estimate he had that it was gonna cost him $600,000 to bring it up to current standards. And I've debated on whether just to sell it for that and let him spend his $600,000 on the bringing it up to current standards, or whether I should put the money into it and do that and then put it on the market and try to get a little more for it. I just don't know if it's going to be worth that. But either way, whoever spends that money, somebody's got to spend it, because it's an 08 home. So we're looking at, you know, all the refrigerators need replacing, the appliances need replacing, the floors need redoing, the whole thing needs painting. There's some windows that are bad in it, new roof. So, you know, any appraisal would need to take into consideration what it needs to be spent on it to bring it up to the current market like you're talking about.
But you definitely don't have a problem with location.
No, sir.
You got excellent location.
That is great
That's
location.
right at the green.
I don't think I've ever found a golf ball in that backyard,
Did you
Mark,
not?
because
They
that's
must play well over there.
that's a par 3, and it's about 180.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
most people don't fly to green on that one,
Well, that's good.
except for Randy. Like if he played out there, he'd probably hit it over the green.
All right.
Is this at Emerald Lakes?
That one's in Longview.
Longview, okay. So the county's not that far off from where you're at, about 100,000.
Nope.
That's.
Now that,
I used. Let me look and see what I used on that one. I think I just used the old value, considering what all needed to be done to bring it up to standard.
$1.9 million.
I used the prior tax value, which was actually higher than the offer I got.
Any questions? Mark, got any questions?
no, sir.
All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Drew. Brad? Oh, no, hey, Bradette? Thank you for coming for us and not bringing Brad. Thank you very much.
No problem. We were not provided any information about the condition of the home prior to today's. So we ran a compare, like all the other appraisers have. If you will look, comp number 1 and comp number 2 are both located within the subject subdivision. Comp number 1 was built in 2012, however, comp number 2 is built in 2007.
Yep.
Neither of those comps are located on the golf course like the subject.
Ooh.
Comp number 3 is located on a golf course, but it is Firethorn Golf Course, which is not a gated community like Longview. Comp number 4 is located in a rural setting, not within a subdivision, nor on a golf course. All the homes are of superior quality like the subject. Based on the compare report, the value came in at $2,220,500. That supported the county's ACE assessment. Therefore, we did not lower the value.
Any questions, Mark, for the county?
No, I just, glad you got a sale here in 220 on that last one on Ennis Road.
Yes,
But there is a difference between Ennis Road and that country club thing.
most definitely.
Great. I'm good.
Ray?
You're at, 2,220,000? We got 2,161,000.
The county's value is 2,161,000. The sales comparison report came in at
Okay.
2,220,000. That's why we did not adjust the value.
Okay, I got a question maybe Phil can answer. As a general rule, the appellant has indicated, you know, it needs HVAC, it needs a refrigerator, all this kind of general stuff. Is that considered? I mean, how do you know that any one of these comps needs a new refrigerator or an HVAC system?
That's crazy.
Well, it's tricky. It is. Particularly over this last 4 years, we've really discovered, I'm going to use Monroe as an analogy. A lot of people have gone in and just totally rebuilt some of these old homes in Monroe. And, you know, you walk into them and it doesn't look like an old house anymore. So in those situations, particularly when somebody mentions that, hey, you know, I own a 1920s home, it's not been remodeled, we'll go and look at the sales photos, the listings, and say, okay, and I literally have a sheet on my paper where when I was working these are the ones that have been totally remodeled, these have been moderately remodeled, these seem to be in original condition. So if it was one that hadn't been remodeled, I'd use the appropriate sales or vice versa. And we have found that up into probably about the 20-year-old stuff. That's where people will typically kind of go in and possibly, you know, redo the kitchen, that sort of thing. But we typically kind of look for the taxpayer to cue us that, hey, this one's not been remodeled, because, you know, typically people do put a little money year over year over year.
Sure.
So if they don't mention it, it's not something we've gone looking for in the newer stuff. And in this case, we had no tip-off that that this one was original. And there again, you know, a 2007, that's not all that old, and you know, there is some wear and tear that accumulates, and we have accounted for that. We don't have this thing on as 100% good. We have it on as 90% good. So we've already knocked off 10%, just saying, hey, over that time period, it's going to lose about 10% of value.
Okay.
And I think it's largely what the taxpayer is saying. You know, yeah, some people do go in and just keep it just pristine, but I don't think that's the norm.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you?
I would like you to.
Let's get back to the Ennis Road property. Can somebody explain this to me? It sold for 2.60, I think. 2.16. I don't know how many acres. What does it say? Acres, 6 acres. I finally can see it. Sorry about that. But it's about 6,000 square feet, 4,000 main, 2,000, what do you call it? Finished basement.
Correct.
And then you go over here and the property is what? 6,524 square feet for the main area? Now, I'm gonna ask that next question. I look underneath it and the finished basement is what? 3,000 square feet. So you got about a 10,000 square foot house in a country club across from the green, and you're using a comp that's 2.74 miles away, which isn't in a country club, that we just heard in the other appeal how that differential, and it's only 6,000 square feet.
Honestly,
And the value is 2.199. I'm asking you, how does that work? How does that work?
honestly, if I'd run the comp, I wouldn't have used that one. I would have stuck with the first 3 that were in country clubs. I think that last one, you have to make so many adjustments to it that it isn't one that I would have used. But you do see that at every point going across, you know,
Okay, let me look
Land
it up.
value, it's adjusting up.
Yeah, 6.5 acres, I agree with land value.
So it's adjusting up $400,000 to bring it back to like Longview. The real difference there is you see the improvement value. We recognize kind of that location thing. So we took $1.2 million off that property. I'm going to argue that that improvement factor should not be in there. That's really an adjustment used to make things work in a mass appraisal. It really is not applicable to sales comparison.
Right,
So
right, I agree.
I really think that minus 1.2
All right.
shouldn't be in there, but larger, I just don't think that comp ought to be in there. If it were me, I'd focus on those three that are in
Do you have one that's, all right, I'm looking at the comp one then, and that's in Longview, is that the same, that's the same place?
Same subdivision. I believe the first two are in Longview, are they
Yes.
not?
Okay, those are, but is it on the golf course?
No, it's not, and there again,
Okay.
you will see that the subject's value is 600,000. If you go across, you'll see,
516?
yeah,
for the
with an
land value, but-
$84,000 adjustment. So we're trying to bring the comps.
Well, it's just
Make
not
them
on the
similar.
golf course. I assume y'all put 600 on that one because it's on the golf course. I mean, if it's
Exactly.
right in a green, we're all in agreement, that's
Yeah,
higher value.
yes, and we made an
Location.
adjustment.
Okay, now my next question is this. This house is 6,300. I apologize, I don't have my magnifying glass, so it's really hard for me to read these numbers.
I just had my eyes operated on. I'm good.
65, is it?
6524 main area.
And then 1,800, or what's the basement?
Finished basement is 1638.
No, I'm talking about the comp one.
Yeah, 1638 is
Okay.
the finished basement. So it's smaller, and there again, you see, we added $191,000 to the comp to say, okay, it's $191,000 less value because of the smaller basement.
Wait a minute, now, I'm seeing finished basement's 3,000 square feet,
Yeah, for the subject.
and then unfinished basement, 600, almost 700 square feet, so,
Right,
There's still some room to expand.
yeah.
right.
Not really. That's
I
where the-
agree.
That's where the HVAC
Is
and
all located?
all that stuff, so it's just an
Yeah.
unfinished mechanical area.
Okay, mechanical area then, I agree.
Right. So as you walk across to each of those comps and each one of those lines, you'll see the first one's a smaller finished basement. So we added value to comp one to make it similar to the subject. The second one hardly had a finished basement at all, so we added quite a bit of money. The third one's fairly similar size, a little smaller, so we added some, but not nearly as much. So in each instance, we're trying to say, okay, what do we have to do to the comp to make it like the subject?
Yeah, I agree. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Under these comps that we have, and I just can't see, so I'm gonna ask the question, comp 1 and 2, when were they built?
One was built in 2012, one was built in 2007.
And where is that on this line?
It's about midway down the year built.
Okay, now I got it. Thank you very much.
And you will see down beneath it is depreciation,
Yep,
and you'll see the subject
I see
is at
that,
90,
90.
the next one's at 95. So to make it similar, we deducted $83,000 because it's a little newer home than,
okay.
so each one of those is a little bit newer, so we deducted a little bit of money off the sales
Yep,
price
yep,
to
yep.
make it similar.
So you feel good at 10,000 square foot house, built in 207, I understand all that, because the comp 2 is a 207, you're right. It's 22.2 million.
Those three,
$220 square foot.
those three adjusted sales we have within golf courses, when adjusted, 2.3 million, 2.2 million, 1.9 million.
Yep, yep.
I sure think we're in the right neighborhood.
Okay, I don't have any more questions.
Or anything? Thank you very much.
Tab number 6, parcel ID number 09259-005, Sue, Bag Sue Trustee.
The subject property is located in the Rolling Hills subdivision.
Let me look up one more thing. I don't have the year of construction. Do you guys know when this one was built? Do you have that in your
I believe 1980.
1980? I would have thought the 70s, but that's pretty close. Anyway, this is an older home. Again, somebody's got to spend some money on it to bring it up to standard if you want to sell it for the value that's been placed on it. I think there's a pretty good differential in what the value has been assessed versus what it would sell for in the current condition. Needs a roof, needs all the same old stuff. It's just, most of the stuff's old, and it just needs bringing up to standard in order to bring a comparable price to some of these other comps that have been used. It's got some age on it and it's worn pretty good.
And the tax value, again, your opinion of value is based on the.
My opinion of value is the last.
Tax value.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Not a problem. I don't have any questions.
Ray, got any questions? So your mom's been out there 10 years,
Yes.
and I remember y'all remodeled it at that time.
We did some fix up, but we didn't do anything major like a roof or any exterior repairs or we didn't replace any of the hardwood floors. We just refinished some of the stuff what was there, maybe put some carpet in it, painted the inside, and it's ready for a little TLC now that she's been there 10 years. So we're fixing to have to spend some money on it.
Do you know what any house values are out there? Drew? I mean, do you know any other house values, like comparison, like, we'll just say there's another house out there kind of similar to this, old, 10 years, and it's sold for much less than a new house for 5-year differential in, time factor.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of the comps here. I don't know if the girl at the office that put
Okay.
this together just forgot to print them or if I didn't get them.
I understand.
You got the comps. Let's see here, Mark. If I can look this out, I'll
You're
give you the
using the
best
county
answer. What's that, Randy?
The county's cost? Is that what we're using? Okay, that's good. I can look at those when the county gets up.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll have a chance.
You don't have to go through it.
I'll have a
That's
chance to
good.
take a look at them. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
Again, when we received this appeal, we were not made aware of the condition problems with the property. So we turned to our sales comparison reports and pulled what we believed were comparable properties within the subject subdivision. In this case, that report returned a value estimate of $381,000. Since that was lower than the value we originally placed on the property, we did lower the value to $381,000.
Can you pull up comp number 3? I want to see, I'm very familiar with that subdivision. I want to see where comp number 3 is at. Please.
Let's see. Yeah. Let's see where that.
A little further. Sorry, it loses
Is
the
that,
oblique image.
Old Clark Goodwin's house?
That,
No?
let's see, let me get my bearings here.
Can you go out a little bit further?
13.
Sure, be glad to.
That's on the
It's not far from the subject, it's right down from it, is that what you're saying to me? How many? It's 1,200 feet from the subject.
Yeah.
Subject is right down here, you go straight down to the bottom,
Uh-huh.
you see the other 5 there. This is gonna curve.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's not,
I think that was, either
Huh?
Don, it was either David Kazai's or Don
I think
Gillum's
it's
house.
David's. I think it's David. They have another big, pretty house up further. You know, that real big one.
All right, then, if you, let me see, comp, 5, excuse me, 6.
That's sold in,
That's Frank
March
Hoffield's
of
old
20.
house. Remember him?
yeah,
Whose was that, Randy?
Frank Hoffield's old house,
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, it is Frank's,
Mhm.
or was, and then Holland moved into it. 395, is that what it sold for? Thank you.
Ray, got any questions for the county?
Yeah, just one, out of all the comps, the subject property is good plus, and all the other ones are just good.
Yes, after looking at the subject, we felt like good minus was probably a better comparable, so we looked at comps with good and good minus. That's why we lowered it to 381,000.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
So Phil, what's the percentage from good plus to just a good?
Good is 121% of our typical, average plus is our norm. A good, we run to 121% of that, a good plus, we run to 138% of that, so 17%, kind of, sort of, I mean, obviously that's not exactly right.
That's the difference between a good and a good plus.
Yeah, it's, that'll be
Okay,
this way.
that's, so this house, comp 6,
14% when you actually do that.
so comp number 6 sold for 395, 320, and it was built in 1973, and it just has a good rating on it, but it sold for 395. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes.
And it's 2,842 square feet. 1.1 acre. And the subject's what, 3,100 square feet? Yeah,
3117.
yep. Oh, we have 117. Thank you.
All right, Ray, anything else, Gabe? We're all good, thank you.
Tab number 7, parcel ID number 070451129, G3 Mint Hill Holdings LLC.
We're gonna take about a 2-minute break if you don't mind. Thank you.
No, it's fine, we can just.
President first. Yeah, just keep it going. You know, yeah, just stand up and line it up. Yeah, it does. I fell on my hand there.
We will begin.
All right, this property is located in the Brayfield subdivision, just off Unionville, Indian Trail Road West, and Faith Church. So this one is in the Porter Ridge School District.
Is this parcel number 7?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Brian Gwartz. Thank you very much for hearing me today. Before I get started, I wanted to bring some attention to your staff. Your staff has done a wonderful job for me. They've been very helpful and extremely courteous, and they deserve commendation for that. And I really appreciate that. Made this presentation much easier for me. On this particular property, I have a couple of issues that are specific and some issues that are general. I provided a discussion, and then today I brought the addendum that I'd like you to take a look at. In terms of this particular property, the land size is something that I think really affects the value and is not addressed at all. In terms of the mass valuation, there are many problems with the technique, and it overlooks a lot. And we all know that we're buying real estate, which is the land itself, and then we're taxed also on that improvement. This particular lot size is 30% smaller than comparable values, but it's still given the same land assessment price. And I made a calculation in the addendum that I provided today that the reduction for the valuation of this, according to that, should be, let me see if I can find it here. An additional $5,800 reduction in the land value based on that compared to the other lots in the same size. And I think it's an unfair approach to say, well, every lot in this development should be given the same assessment. And I think they did that at $38,900. The next thing that I wanted to address in terms of the tax assessment is that valuations in a rising market are something that are very difficult to assess. The market is rising much faster than anybody really appreciates, and this creates a situation that stretches the definition of the valuations that you use. In terms of this, the definition of the market value is a willing buyer and a willing seller. And we assume as part of your definition that the willing buyer is financially able. But this market is rising so fast because of factors that are out of our control that we have buyers who are actually unwilling buyers. And they come in two categories. One is the people who are forced to move here because of economic conditions in their previous location, and they need to move here for financial reasons. The second is that buyers come in who are corporate interests who have large amounts of money that they are forced to invest because they have to garner a return on that amount of money. They have overhead, they have people who do these sorts of things, and they're forced to invest this. So they're forced to pay more for the property than the actual value of the property. And this in turn impacts another methodology that you use, which is the income approach to property. When you come in and buy a property and you expect a certain amount of return, but the cost of the property is so high that return on investment drops precipitously. Another one of the ways to value the property using expert analysis is using the realtors as experts. They have the most familiarity with the market, and they understand what the valuation of a property should be, and they then put the listing price in. Well, what happens in this current market is that the listing price is not enough to gain ownership of the property. You have to bid above the listing price. Well, at this point, you are above the market value of the property, and you have to pay more. In addition, you also lose, as a buyer of property, distorting the assessed value of the property, the ability to negotiate for other value, important parts of the property, including deterioration and age. Typically, you would say a property has a problem with the toilets, the water heater, the sewer, and so I need to deduct from the listing price. And in this market, because it is distorted, and doesn't meet the definition that we have according to statute, people have to pay more than that. The taxation value should not be assessed on that market distortion. It should be assessed on what is the actual valuation, because that is the criteria that you're statutorily obligated to do. And so I'm going to ask that the tax valuation be no higher than the amount paid. And even that, in this market, is higher than the true value of the property. In this case, I paid $195,000 for this in 2019, and the assessed value is now $13,000, some more than that.
So you don't believe your home is appreciated any?
I don't believe that the true value has appreciated. There is a market distortion that has caused a price that doesn't meet the statutory definition. And I don't believe you should charge tax on values that are outside of the statutory definition.
So my mom built a house in 1956 for $3,200 or whatever. So that's the value of her home right now, based on your analogy?
If you charge her more tax than what she paid for it, at the time she paid for it, no matter how long ago that was, you are taxing her on unrealized income. The Supreme Court of the United States has decided that that is not a legal procedure, and you're not allowed to tax on unrealized income. It's not fair if her income is fixed and her house is fixed and she has not changed that, to say, well, all your neighbors think your house is worth 100 times that, and therefore we're going to increase your tax 100 times. You then end up pricing her out of the market. That has a very negative effect on society as a whole.
Let me cut you off.
Sure.
I think you're chasing a rabbit here. Let's have any questions from the board. Mark, you got any questions?
Yeah, so you paid $195 for it?
I did,
You did, and it was in 219?
yes.
You felt like you got a good deal?
No,
You paid too much?
yes.
There you go. I don't have any more questions.
Roy, you have any questions?
No, sir.
I'll give you a chance to, let's hear from the county. I'll give you another chance to talk in just a minute.
Sure,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Good morning, Brent.
Morning, how are you? All right, so with this property, we did pull the comparable sales report. We pulled sales all within this subdivision. And the value that came back on the sales report was $208,900. And that is the exact value that we had it taxed at. So I did not see a reason to change that value. And just to address one of the things Mr. Gortz was speaking about with the land size, how they're differentiated in size. The subject is 0.18 acres. Some of the comps are 0.21, 0.19, 0.26, so they're very similar in size. And when we use those approaches in the subdivisions, we use the allocation method, take the sales 20% of it, and we just don't see a big difference in that small of an acreage change. So all the parcels out there are priced at the $38,900 in the subdivision.
So all those houses that are in his subdivision, did you do them by lot basis, just what is it, 20, I don't know, how much did you have the price for the lot?
The land value is $38,900. Every house out there has that same land value. Yes, sir.
All neighbors, and yes, one might have 1.9 acres, one might have 2.1, but all of it's equal as far as land value.
Yes, sir. And the acreages we're talking about, it's like 0.18 versus 0.21
Yeah.
versus
I
0.1.
understand how that
So,
works.
yes, sir.
All right. I don't have any questions.
Ray, got any questions? So, the next three properties are here's also the next two properties?
Yes, sir. For parcel, like the hearing 7, 8, and 9, if that's what you're speaking about. Yes, sir. So he has 2 more hearings after this one.
Are all these in the same subdivision?
They're all, the next 2, I think, are in the Chris Mark subdivision.
Yes, Mark. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So without getting into what you think's right and wrong, I'd like to hear specific information on these properties. Why you think the values or wrong, or erroneous?
And the condition of the properties is generally the main issue, because when I buy these properties, I have to go in and repaint, change faucets, change water heaters. One of the properties, I had to replace the sewer line, which was a very large expense. And so the actual individualization of the property that can't be seen externally is the reason that my particular properties should be appraised lower, and certainly no higher than what I paid for them.
Do you live in any one of these three properties?
No, I have a fourth one that I do live in.
Okay.
So I buy very similar properties, and my house looks very much like this Brayfield property.
So you rent them out?
These three I rent out.
Oh, you did rent them out? I didn't know that.
Yes,
I thought the first one was your home, so these are like rental properties.
Yeah, these are rental properties. I live on Gold Dust Lane, and using the methodology that you folks use, and no reflection on staff whatsoever, but using the methodology that you use, the house that I actually live in was assessed much lower than I paid for it. I think about $20,000 lower. And I wasn't going to come in here and argue that I should have even lower than that. But it was the same basic situation where I've had to replace the floor, and the roof is coming, and those kinds of things which lower. And so I'm going to ask for some assistance on the average condition for my house. My house should be one or two categories below average condition.
Now, what do you, all right, let's go back to the former home the first one. What do you rent that for?
Oh, I think it's about $1,200 a month.
What about the next two? Similar, or?
It's a little bit more. I think those rent for $1,300 or $1,400 a month.
Okay.
How long have you been renting them?
Since 2019.
You bought them all three at the same time, or?
There's some space between. My daughter moved to Charlotte, and so I moved here and followed her, and this is where we're living and where we've decided to invest. And she has her own place. She lives in Ballantyne. But that's what we're doing now. I'm a fortunate guy. I have enough money to invest, so I do that. But what I see on the return on these, and so the income approach is more what I use when I'm investing, is there a decent return on this? And I don't think that the return that I'm getting, which is 2 and 3%, is really an exorbitant return at all. But at the same time, to be in that level of return and then have the tax increase reducing the return is not a fair way to put someone who's doing that sort of investing. And the income approach is a valid approach to use from your point of view. It's not that I'm asking you to use something that's not in your definition and not in your handbook of how you go about making these assessments. You're not absolutely 100% locked into the mass data analysis, because you can see in my particular case, it has lost the individuality of assessing the actual value of the property. And the aberrant market conditions means I can't negotiate for those repairs at the time I make the purchase price.
All right, let me ask you a question. All right,
Certainly.
so I'm assuming you're hoping these properties appreciate.
I am.
You bought them based on the income approach and the potential for appreciation.
Correct.
All right, but your contention is because you bought it at a certain price, for as long as you own it, it's going to stay that same tax value. That's what you think is fair, right?
That's part of the picture, correct. Now, when I'm expecting appreciation, I don't get away scot-free. At the time that I sell the property, then I have to pay taxes on that gain.
Correct.
And there is no basis in the United States for charging tax on unrealized income, whether I'm buying a car, whether I'm buying stocks, whatever I invest in, diamonds. It's all that when the gain is realized, the tax is then charged and collected, and that's all appropriate. And I don't have a problem with assessing tax based on what I did purchase it for. In the case of properties which are overpriced, and in a previous example, you had trouble finding comps after 2013. Well, that's because the market had topped, even in this extreme condition where much more money is being poured into the market than should be. So there aren't recent comps. Well, that's a hint. The statute here is excellent in terms of when market dips, the same percentage, 15% below, then you again have to reassess. And I think that's a very fair part of the system, and I truly endorse that.
Okay.
But we're in a situation now where we're realizing that the market is at its very top. One of the articles that I just found last night, 2 million households are $15 billion back in rent. That doesn't include the 2 million mortgages that are in default, and I think 4 to 6 million mortgages that are in forbearance because of the extreme market conditions. And stabilizing, my point here is that stabilizing the tax condition and not following the mass data approach evaluation based solely on sales prices is a much more stabilizing effect and has the positive.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
We could agree to disagree, but realistically, okay, so the sheriff's departments cost more, the road maintenance costs more, the utilities cost more. So you can, if everybody stayed exactly the same, then, but these rising costs, we'd have a problem. So what happens? Everything increases. The cost increases. His paving company increases. He can't pave back like he did in 1980. You can't. So my point being, I hear your point, and I wish it was that way, but it's not that way. But
I make the point,
and let's make it quick.
but I'm not absolutely rigid. I understand that,
Yeah.
that taxes have to go up soon, and I'm not intransigent on that. So yeah, they do, and I'm willing to have it go up some and compromise on this issue because everything needs compromise.
Sure.
But I do think that in the case of this particular property, $195,000 2 years ago is a reasonable assessment of the property value. It's not so long ago as to make it an extreme example and completely outside
Okay.
of standard deviations.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't, unless, I think we got his contention, unless we want to hear, I think we just roll on to the next appellant.
Which one? I'm lost.
Is that going to be for all three of my properties?
Yeah, I mean, you got the same argument, I'm assuming?
I do. I just hope that on the two where the land size is different, that you'll take a serious look at that.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Tab number 10, parcel ID number 09143-004H. Boba Corporation.
All right, this is a industrial piece of land that is accessed off of Stafford Street Extension. It backs up to the Monroe Expressway or bypass. If you're going up 601, it's almost directly behind Lee Park Church.
Can you spread it out, or, yeah.
Go even further?
Yeah,
Okay.
do it one more time. Now you can tell me where it is.
All right. If you come up, I'm sorry, not 601, Morgan Mill. We have some other ones on 601. Come up Morgan Mill, and you take a left onto Stafford Street, and then you access, it says Rollins Boulevard, to get back to this piece.
Okay.
And it's an industrial property.
So you have to go by the church property to get to it?
No, but it's just a reference.
Because the,
I'm not sure if you
Rollins
can
Road
even-
Rollins Road was moved
Yeah, I don't think.
due to the bypass.
Yeah, that was just as a point coming up 60, but you would access it, how I accessed it, I went to the property to take a look at it. It is off Stafford Street. And this imagery is not, this is not up to date. Let's see if I can get a better. Yeah. There we go. There we go. If I go out any further, it'll pull it back, so that's the best we're going to do on that.
Is this yours, Drew?
Yes.
Okay, I know, okay. So don't you go in right by Wood Harvest to get to it, or near Wood
We
Harvest?
do, and that's private property. That's never been recorded as a right-of-way or an easement or anything, or a public street. So, I'm no attorney, but legally, I don't even know what our legal right. Dr. Bartles, I believe, owns that property. He owns the piece. I'll move the cursor to it without going out, but it's right here where my little hand thing is. I think it's Dr. King or I can't remember. It was Bartles and King at one time, and I think Joseph King is the guy that owns it now, but I don't know what our legal right to access is to that property. We've been using that road.
The church does too.
Just
don't
because
they?
we kind of collaborated with him on putting it in, but that was back in the days when you had a handshake and you did something together and everybody honored the handshake, but there's no legal document that says, hey, you guys have a right-of-way or access to this property. So that's one thing. The other is, I don't have any comps or the appraisal on this. Do you happen to have something I can look at?
I emailed those, but.
Yeah, the girl that put this book together for us obviously had so many, she just didn't get it in there, and I apologize for that.
I'll need it back.
Yeah, I'll give it right back to you. I just want to kind of look and see what the comps were.
And I made a map too.
Okay, thank you. The main things with this property that needs to be taken into consideration, first of all, the major problem that I've got initially with this one is that it went up 287% in one revaluation. And taking a piece of property that doesn't have sewer, doesn't have water, doesn't have a legal access, you got a blue line stream. If you look at the screen where my cursor is, I'm following the stream that goes right through the middle of the property, and it comes out through here. So we got a good chunk of the property that can't even be used. The other thing is this area right over, I don't know what I just did. This area right over in here is a septic system. And in order to, I'm trying to zoom out. Okay, in order for these trailers to be put here, these office trailers were put there temporarily to use as offices for the Monroe Bypass construction. We had to go in and put a septic tank system in over here. And the area that would perk, that would render this property usable for these office trailers, would only meet the requirements for 4 bathrooms. So, I got a problem with the value because there's really nothing else we can do with this property except pile up crushed concrete, crushed asphalt, store equipment there. We put a little temporary fabric shelter type shop up just to work on equipment over there. But there's no sewer. There's a gas line that runs right down through the middle of this high ground right here. And we gave the city of Monroe an easement through there. So that kind of chops it up in your buildable area. No sewer, gas easement, can't build anything on it. The access isn't deeded. I don't know where these comps are, but I would argue that these comps for industrial property likely have a deeded access, likely have some form of utilities, water and sewer. We don't have water, there's a well. We've got a well sitting right back here in the corner of the property, and it's very poor. So,
How many acres, Drew?
35, I believe. Let's see. Well, I don't have, let's see, 1 second.
And you don't.
19, it says 19 here, the subject. But again, I don't think it warrants a 257% increase in value. I'd be comfortable with the same value as before, about $289,000, just because ain't nothing I can do with it except what we're doing there now. And none of that's buildable with a structure. And, you know, I don't see this $1 million plus valuation at all. Any questions?
So you've never had a deed of right of way to the property?
I don't think there is. I mean, if you look at it, usually if you see a street or a right-of-way in a subdivision, if you click on it in the GIS, it'll show you that it's NCDOT or City of Monroe or whomever. This one is a piece of Dr. King's property, and so there's not a recorded access easement or deeded right-of-way to that property. So again, trying to sell it and get title insurance on it, I think would be a difficult matter.
How long have you been out there?
We bought that property in 1985, I believe. And then the Monroe bypass cut us in half, and they condemned the back half of the property. So I'm not zoomed out enough, but let me zoom out a little bit and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So it used to contain some of this property on the north side of the Monroe bypass over here. But when the bypass came through here, they condemned and took that and cut that. We don't have access to that backside anymore, so they just kept it and left us with this.
Were you compensated from the state for that?
I mean, in some form, yeah, they took
Did they pay you some money?
they took the property. I'm sure they paid.
I'm sure they paid. I just wonder how much it was.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know either. All right.
But again, whatever they paid doesn't change anything I just described to you about the sewer, the septic tank,
It doesn't have sewer and septic.
and it doesn't have water.
Okay,
And it's got the gas easement running right through the middle of it.
okay.
And it doesn't have a legal deeded access.
But you've been getting there every day since 1980?
Absolutely. But again, it's not whether I can get there or not. What the reason I bring that point up is because if I try to sell it and realize the value that's been put on this, I don't personally believe there's any way to ever get that, because as much property as I've sold, everybody wants to beat you up with all the access and right of way and easement, and then they go get their title insurance company, and then you got 4 attorneys calling you trying to make sure you got everything under the sun. I just don't see satisfying that requirement.
It's a valid point, that no deed right of way or deeded access. I mean, Randy, got any questions? Mark, questions?
So when you bought it in 85, and you turned it into this, I'm confused, how did you buy it in the first place if you didn't have a way to get to it?
Paid cash for it and didn't get title insurance.
There you go. That answers my question.
And it's a dirt road going into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Does the church still use that road, some coming out of the back of their church?
You know, I don't really know why they connected to that road, Randy, other than maybe
Traffic?
just to, when they're
just-
over flooded,
Yeah.
they even got a chain across it. So it's not like it's open all the time.
Yeah,
So I think they may have just done it for an emergency
They-
access. Something happened out there on their front, they got another way in and out, but they don't,
Yeah,
like I said, there's a chain across the road, and
yeah,
I don't think it's used very often. We don't use it.
yeah.
We're not gonna cut through their property.
I got you. No. Thank you, bud.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Joe, can you pull that parcel up in Go Maps, which is the third tab over?
Yeah, I think so.
Zoom out from there. Robin, where would it show, if there was a dedicated easement, would it show that?
Probably, but I'd have to look into it to see if there actually is one. I mean, it depends on how old it is.
Okay, Joe, did you have any of this information before today?
No, in fact, all the remaining hearings, we've had no information it's just today as we're hearing this. So, that being said, the reason for the big increase was that it was owned as a residential property in the last revaluation. And so it changed from residential to industrial, which is a big jump. So that's where we are with that aspect of it.
Joe, was the appellant made aware of that?
There would have been a change of valuation. I'm not sure if that was a part of, if we notify, I think that's just,
I don't believe our notice gives that specific.
So that's, okay.
Was that from the last revaluation you changed it?
yeah. The last
You bought it in 85, didn't you? So he's held that property.
Yeah, what happened to-
so long. Is his business, all that crushed rock and stuff been there for a long time, or is that just?
Yeah.
I don't,
Well, it was incorrectly valued as residential at the
well,
last revaluation, so.
it was?
Yes,
And all the prior,
yes.
so from 85 until now, this year, the county has residential.
Had as a
Correct.
residential rate, yes, sir.
But you knew what was out there.
I believe that was the zoning until recently.
Just till recent? Okay, that's why I was trying to figure out what was going on. Okay.
You want me to speak to that, Mark, or you want me to stay seated?
Yeah,
No,
let's get through the county.
I believe.
Hang on a minute now.
Okay.
Okay. It does contain 35 acres. We got at a very poor rate, which is what you appraise for backland. So that's why it's on, otherwise it would be on, as an average or better. And so that's only $31,999 an acre. I've got the comps that show the majority of these comps are industrial properties, and I think comp number 2 may be commercial, but it's the addition to James River, and it's at $140,000 an acre. We don't have a lot of sales to go on, but the ones that we do, I felt like we're in pretty good shape with. And comps number 6 and 7 are not very far from the subject, and they're zoned residential and zoned for residential developments, what they were bought for. And they're running at $41,000 an acre and $82,000 an acre for those. So I felt like we were in pretty good shape at 31.9. So, and they're, let's say, you can look at it on the map. Those are not too far away. They're close to the bypass. They have some of the same attributes. Now, the access I can't speak to. I don't know about whether or not that's dedicated or not. It would probably fall under adverse possession, which I think in North Carolina is like 15 years. If you've used it for 15 years, you have the right to it. They can't deny you, but you would need some legal expert to talk to you on that. Any question?
So Joe, prior to the rezoning, or going from the residential to industrial, what were they paying per acre?
I
course,
can calculate it here for you.
But
It was
About 10.
less than 10.
Okay, so that's a moot point at this stage of the game anyway, right?
Yeah. It was less than 10, now we're at 31.9.
Okay,
Just under 8,300.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Well,
we've got staff checking to confirm the existence or lack of existence of that right of way, just to make sure.
Okay. So, if it doesn't have, if he don't think it'll have a right of way, it doesn't show a right of way, so does that change your opinion, Joe?
We could probably work a little bit with it if it doesn't.
How far are your comps from this place?
I don't have the exact mileage. I don't have a comper like with the residential. I don't have that luxury. But if you look on the map, it's they're all within a few miles.
Oh, so they are very close by. That's good. All right. We don't know the situations for those properties, though, do we? Like easements and stuff.
Yeah, I Wouldn't have that info.
All right. Yes, sir, Drew.
I'd just like to point out that the James River tract is right on NC 200, so they got access to a paved public highway, so that is legal access. And then I believe they would have water and sewer. So those are two things that make that one pretty materially different. So,
I would agree.
anyway, and as far as the use, as a residential property, regardless of the zoning, if you're doing work on a DOT project, you have the right to borrow material or store construction materials on a privately owned site. And so we just had a thing we turn into DOT for use as a borrow pit and to store construction materials on it. So we didn't have to have it rezoned since 1985. But when we wanted to set up the offices and use it for a staging yard for the bypass and do concrete recycling and shingle recycling and all those kinds of things, we had to get it rezoned. So that's why we went through with the rezoning back, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, whenever it may have been. I can't remember the exact date, but
Okay.
that's when it happened.
Tab number 11, parcel ID number 09177001, construction financial.
All right, this is going to be located on Highway 601, north of 74. It's near the intersection of Concord Avenue and almost directly across from the county administration building that was built. Everybody got location good?
You know it well.
Okay.
So it's not far from the other places?
Not the way the crow flies. This is right there.
I saw another blue thing up there, that's why I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I expand out on it,
Yeah, expand down. There's
the other one's right here, Mark, where my pointer is. But now to get to it, you gotta come all the way up.
We understand that, I just said it's not.
It ain't-
Looking at that map, I'm saying, well, it's not far.
Not too far.
Okay.
The biggest issue I got with this one is it went up 25% in value, and we haven't done anything to change that value. And if anything, if you pull up the floodway, this is right along this bottom border right here where my pointer is, all the way along this side here is the Richardson Creek, or Stewart's Creek, Stewart's Creek. And what happens every single time we get a big rain, and it normally happens once every year or two, this entire site floods. Literally up to where my pointer is, right up here where this asphalt plant sits, I've seen water up this high on the foundation of that asphalt plant. The last big rain we had a truck parked up here on what we thought was high ground, and it got flooded, and we had to do a claim with the insurance company. It total lost the truck. So there's very, very little of this, and the only thing out here is a couple of old pole buildings, which are dilapidated, and it's mainly just old equipment storage, kind of a boneyard, floods. I can't see a 25% increase in one valuation for something. And the other thing I was going to mention, if you go on the Union County GIS website and you look at the old flood study versus the new flood study, for whatever reason, more of it now is under the floodplain than was previously. So we have even less usable property outside the floodplain than we used to have. So.
You didn't provide that information for us, did you?
What's that now?
The floodplain?
No.
This map you're talking about?
I mean, any.
You didn't provide us with the
No.
picture of that?
I did not. And these guys know how to pull that up, but way better than I do, so I'm not that literate on that computer system.
All right, so the value you have on this is $775,200?
Yes, yes, sir.
Parcel number 10, no, 11, excuse me.
That's right.
Okay, and how long have you owned this parcel?
Mm,
You know, like the other one you said, I mean, I don't know.
I know we owned it, I think we owned it, well, the predecessor company to us owned it from 1986. I think we probably bought it in 98 or something like that.
Okay, okay.
The current owner. I believe, Mark, I think that's about right, 98 or so.
Ray, you got any questions?
Yeah, just, so you said the tax value went up 25%?
That's what my,
And I'm trying to decipher for myself, it says 775, the county has 826. Did you know that?
okay, so there were two different notices for the same property. So there was one notice that was 996, and if you use that figure, it's 25.69%.
6%, 6.5% increase.
6.8% is if you use the 826.
Well, that's what I have on this sheet, I assume the county has the value of that, is that correct? That's correct. Okay.
Did y'all initially send two notices on the same one?
I'm not familiar if we did.
I'm pretty sure, because she logged them on the spreadsheet when they
You
came
have a
in.
problem with the 826 group? I mean, it's only 6% increase since whenever the last thing, not
Since what now?
2015. You know, it's 6% increase.
You know what? I mean, in the spirit of cooperation, I wouldn't have a problem with that if we can work on some of these other ones.
Brent brought to my attention, we changed the flood zone. He got notified, that's what it was. You
Okay,
originally
good.
got notified, but then we changed the flood zone from 45% to 75%. And we do have the flood on here, so 75, and that was the reduction.
You understand that?
Sounds good.
So that's why we got two valuations.
Yeah, one was a
One was
former
considering
flood.
45%, and then they revised it considering
So you
60
had more
something. That's
flood.
what took it from 9 something to,
Got it.
okay.
With more flood.
I mean, I don't have a problem,
Good.
you know, working
All right.
with the county on that one.
All right, Bellman?
What is it? Go ahead and go to the next one.
Tab number 12, parcel ID number 09213008, 601 Bypass Land LLC.
Hey, Drew, on this one, your opinion of value on parcel number 12 is $1,341,700. I assume it's because of the previous value. And this was $1,670,000. Did you know that?
Yes.
Good, we're on the same page now.
We're on the same page as far as those numbers being on the sheet.
Okay, good.
Was this DA's old property?
No, that's the next one. I'll show you with the little cursor.
Yeah, I think he's talking about that one.
No. This house here that was called Swan Manor, the guy had it for like a wedding place or something. That was D.A. Davis's old house.
Okay.
This, I don't know who owned it previously, but, you know, I can explain that when I go
Now,
in.
this land's for sale, right?
Well, we don't currently have it listed.
There's a sign up there.
Well, I think Stephen Rosenberg may have put a sign up on it.
Okay.
But he don't have a listing on it. And as a matter of fact, nobody's got a listing on it. So if there is a sign on it, it's not an authorized sign.
Now, somebody was telling me there's, I thought I read it in the Monroe paper where there's like a mixed-use plan for this thing.
Absolutely, yeah, and I was going to explain that. Initially, this site encompassed this interchange here, and it was 56 acres, and it was zoned for a commercial shopping center with a grocery store and all that good stuff. Well, when the bypass came along, they took 28 of the 56 acres, so it left us with 28 acres. Now, there's some wetlands and some floodplain and all that up here we've had to work around. And then here's the problem we're finding. We went back and had it re-engineered with the 28 acres versus the 56. And we've submitted that to the city for approval, which they have approved it. But what we're finding in marketing it, because it's commercial real estate after COVID has taken a pounding. And nobody's really interested in the commercial aspect of it, which is this parcel. We also have this parcel back here, the old D.A. Davis parcel, and it's the residential component of what you described, Randy, as the mixed use. So all the residential is isolated to this separate tax ID number. This one here is strictly commercial. We've talked to our hotel partners who we've got several hotels with. They're not interested. We've talked to Circle K, we've talked to Quick Trip, we talked to others who aren't interested. No grocery stores are interested. What they say is there's not enough rooftops there for them. They want to see the residential rooftops first. So my argument is although this may be worth more one day than it is today, the value in January of 2021, because of COVID and the impact on the commercial real estate market, the landlords ain't even been collecting their rent. Federal government says you can't evict somebody, so, this commercial real estate right now is not at a very positive value. So with that being said, I believe the old value of $1,341,700 is more appropriate than the increased value of $1,670,000.
Hey, let me ask you a question. That 1.341 million,
Yes, sir.
is that for, how many acres, 28?
28 acres.
28 acres.
Some of which is stream and wetlands.
Yeah, I understand that.
And there's a controlled access on Concord Highway, so there's no access on the frontage road. You got access. Got access on Ridge Road, but they want you to do about $1 million worth of road upgrades out there. We can't make the numbers work right now.
I understand. You can't make the numbers work right now. The question I'm having is, you had 56 acres or whatever you said, 53. The state came in and took that property from you. They had to compensate you for it. What were you compensated for that based on the fact that they knew that, this was coming through?
I think that took place in 2008, Mark, and although I can go and dig those numbers up, I don't have them right here in front of me. I can't remember what they compensated us.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
Right?
That's right.
All right.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Tab number 13, parcel
Let's hear from Joe.
I'm sorry.
No problem, Bill.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to add. You've got the comps in front of you, some of the same comps that we used on the other one. I'm looking at it as even possible industrial property. I think if you came to the city, they wouldn't deny an industrial use on this, but that's my opinion. I've just seen other things they've done in the past, but we're at $62,000 an acre for commercial. It's a newly developing area, so we don't have a lot of sales to go on. We have the ones that's on my map. We don't have ideal. I'd like to see some that, would have the same attributes. But we don't have them. We have some that are similar, but not identical, like we could have, once this area develops and there's some of these other bypass areas, as we get some more sales going, we'd be able to nail it down a little closer. But I felt like at $62,000 for a tract like this with the type of access it has, and like I said, I didn't have any information about it. There's nothing. No, I don't have anything to go on with that.
But that value that you're saying of 60 acres based on those comps?
62,000 based on the comps, and that's another, and there's another.
Property around there, let's just say that across the street, I don't know what's industrial or what's commercial or in this area, I don't know.
There's only a couple that are zoned commercial right in this general area. There's not a whole lot.
That's pretty good, because I thought it wasn't supposed to be commercial on that thing, but that's good. The question is, do you have have land values based on that the rest of the way of the bypass?
Yeah,
Is this the only property that's based commercial and you got 62,000 based on it and there's no one else, the whole bypass?
the whole bypass, I couldn't tell you. I can't think of a whole lot of properties that are going to be identical to that. I couldn't speak to that, how we have those appraised.
All right. I don't have any more questions.
Randy, I got one more thing I'd like to
Sure.
add, if you don't mind.
One thing with any property is access to utilities. And our engineer was studying how we get utilities to this front parcel here for the commercial. And if you look at my cursor, down here, there's a bottom that goes, there's a drainage that goes underneath the Monroe bypass there. And we got a board of sewer underneath that toll road and buy right away from these folks down here and run it all the way up this property to get it to this front property. There's no other sewer available for this property other than to do it that way. And as you can imagine, that's super expensive to do that.
I thought I heard you say you owned it.
He did.
You own this property?
We own this piece, but it only comes to about here where my cursor is, Randy.
Oh.
This other piece right here belongs to someone else. And we've had the engineers reach out to them about an easement, and they're not very excited about it. So now he's reaching out to DOT.
I'm sure they'd be excited.
Yeah. So he's reaching out to DOT to see if they'll allow us to put it in the right-of-way, but who knows how much red tape that'd take.
All right, Bellman?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
going back to hearing number 10, the Bova Corporation, the piece of property out by the bypass.
Start again now, what?
Hearing number 10.
Yeah.
On my Bova Corporation, the piece of property out by the bypass. In 1990, there was a 60-foot wide deeded right-of-way across that property, giving them access to that property down that road. So they've had road access to that property since 1990.
I'd love to have a copy of that.
You can have this.
I don't know where that came from, but
It was deeded from
that's good.
Sandra and Joseph King to Bova Corporation, drawn up by Sanford Stillman.
Wow. That's a pleasant surprise. Thank you.
Good job.
Tab number 13, parcel ID number 09213-008A, 601 Bypass Land LLC.
Now, before I click on it, if you look at the map up there, you see the little cutout where my cursor is? That's where we're headed. It's just a little cutout of that.
Are the improvements on this?
No, sir. That's the same, it should have been discussed at the same time, lumped in with the last one, but there's nothing really.
It's 149, is your opinion, the value, based, it's probably the value it was before the
That's right.
evaluation.
Yep.
And the county went to 178.8, and you know that for sure, and you're still saying it's 149?
Yes.
Or do you agree with the county on that one?
No, I'm gonna keep the same argument that it's 149 along with the 1,341 on the on the last one. But all the same arguments apply.
Okay. It's floodplain?
Well, you got that pond on it.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. It is. That's what you're saying. All right.
Any questions, Judd? Or, you Ray or Mark?
I just have, you're gonna get the county to sit up real quick?
I am.
Yeah, okay,
Any questions for Drew?
good. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Drew. Judge?
All right.
This parcel's how big, Joe?
This parcel is 1.49, about 1.5 acres here. I was looking for a pond, or I wasn't familiar with any kind of flood zone or anything on this parcel. The way that we valued the other piece is like we do all parcels. the part that's right on the corner, and I'm getting to why we got this one at this rate. We use that as an excellent on that corner, and using that as an excellent, this coming down from it is rated as a very good on commercial, and that's what we have this one rated, and that's why it's $120,000 an acre on that. Because you go from excellent to very good, just so, like if you came down here, if you had a piece cut out right here, that'd be very good as well. I'm sorry, I'm doing this with my right hand. I'm left-handed.
Is this, is it currently zoned commercial, Joe?
It's currently zoned commercial, just like the other piece,
The whole
piece
tract.
around it. And on the other piece, this portion of it, is gonna be around 150,000 acre. And if you drop down on this, so I have it segmented on this other big piece. So, and it goes down, the further away it gets from the corner, the other acreage gets segmented further on down the line till we get to like 62,000 for the big tract per acre, and that's why the small tract and small tracts command a higher dollar per acre than the big tract. So if we had 62,000 for, I think it was 19 acres, then we should reasonably be at 120,000 for a 1.49 acre tract. If he were to have it resurveyed and put all into one, it would probably help it a little bit, but that's, and we're using some of the same comps that we used on that last parcel.
Okay, did you know about floodplain?
I'm not familiar with any flood zone on
So in
that.
other words, in the last reevaluation, not present, that we're going to, 149 is what y'all had for?
The last revaluation,
215, I'm sorry, I should say 215.
let's see.
What?
Yes.
Yes, yes, we do.
That's the 149?
Yes.
was. If you didn't have anything about floodplain needed?
No.
Okay, so y'all don't have any kind of.
We can flip over to the gov maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I need to hear.
Ray, please. Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Tab number 14, parcel ID number 09225-040, Bugs Properties.
This is the, I guess it would be his main office here on 74, right off Skyway. There's 74, here's Skyway, here's the Skyway Plaza Shopping Center.
Yes, sir.
Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so going from 391 to 494 is about a 26% increase since the last valuation. The building hadn't been renovated. It's really, really old and tired, needs a lot of work, and probably more importantly, there's not really very much parking that goes along with that property. In other words, as you can see the property line right here where my little pointer's at, that blue line, those parking spaces that we're using in front of the building aren't even on our property. And again, it's just been it's been like that for a long time. I don't know what right we have to them, but there may be some recorded easement that I don't know about. But if that's the case, I'd love to see a copy of it. You got this other property over here, and there's one cut right here. There's a curb cut out here for the shopping center, and it needs a new roof. I mean, the building's just very, very, very dated. We just discovered some pretty severe water damage and mold in this front left corner up here that we're going to have to attend to. Don't know how much that's going to cost, but I can't see how this one's gone from $391, almost $105,000 increase. And again, with the commercial, impact from COVID, I mean, I'd love to sell it if somebody wanted to buy it, but I don't think there's much of a market for it right now at that rate.
Hang on a minute, Drew.
Not a problem.
Let's 1 minute.
Go ahead.
That building has sentimental value to me. May 15th, 1978, I started my banking career in that building.
That might be your lucky day, Randy. I'll make you a deal on this.
I figured you would.
If you'll give me these guys' tax value, you need to step outside for a minute.
I knew you'd make me a deal on it.
I'm gonna grab some water.
Go right ahead, Drew. Phil, where's the square footage of this building? I'm not seeing it. Let's see. It's about,
7,177.
I'm sorry, what?
7,177.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Rob. Drew, I don't know if you were finished with that one or not, but
Just if y'all got any questions, one more point to make, two more points really. The access to this thing's super dangerous. If you're coming down eastbound on 74 in this far right travel lane right here where this truck's at right now, you can see how these merge arrows come off of this on-ramp right here. And generally, you're right here where this truck's at if you want to turn right into this shopping center.
Yeah.
And somebody coming down here trying to merge, trying to pick up speed to about 50 miles an hour, there's a wreck there just about daily, if not once a week. And so that's a very unsafe access point. This one, the only way you can access it is off the ramp itself. You really ain't gonna access it from 74. And then the only other thing to mention, this area back in here, there's an alleyway behind these buildings. And some of these units here are vacant. They're no longer occupied. And what we found is this is kind of an area frequented by, I don't know what you want to call, maybe even homeless, or, there's some grocery carts like stuffed in there with clothes in them and everything like that. So it's just kind of a dangerous, this whole thing's in need of some TLC. So it's not the best area in the world. So
Okay.
that's all I got for that one, unless y'all got any questions.
Ray, you got any questions? All right. Any more? Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Okay, office building, built in the 60s. We have it, our cost on it is, it's based on cost approach, and we don't have, that's what we got based on. We don't have an effective age, anything higher than 1965. That's what it's based on. It would have the depreciation of a 1965 building. So that's where we are with the cost approach. I also pulled the sales comparison. It just so happens that the property right beside us sold, and it's part of your comp package. It's comp number 6. That sold for $975,000, 102 of 2019. It had 10,000 square feet. We've got 7,177 square feet. This sold for $975,000 or $97 a square foot roughly. And our property is appraised at $68 a square foot, 68.84 to be exact. We felt like that we really didn't have anywhere to go with this based on, especially on that one, given the fact that that one has even less access that was pointed out. The other access that you can have on this property is you'd have to cut back through the Skyway Shopping Center, come out at the light. But yeah, I do agree that is a dangerous spot. I've done it multiple times and I don't like it. But also, you're talking about a property has exposure to Highway 74 here. If you look at the comps, most of ours do not. There was also a property right over here. Let's see if I can find it. Another sale. And it's on Skyway. It's sale number 2.
Which one is it?
I'm going to pull it up here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to show it to you, but I think it'd be easier if I highlight it. Let me find that parcel.
Well, that comp you got right beside it's pretty good.
That's a pretty good comp, but it's just hard to, it was hard for me to make any kind of change on this based on that. All right, here's, it's right on the corner of Skyway and Pfeiffer, across from the Zoom Express. It's right down the road from where we are.
Okay.
There's the Skyway. That one sold for $1,075,000. It had a small addition on it that was new, but for the most part, it's built in the 90s. Sold for $106 a square foot. No access to 74. It's a good little corner, but yeah.
Okay.
And so, given that information, it's at $106 a square foot. We're at 68. And there's other comps in here. Avon Street, which is not too far away. It's right down here. This property right here. Avon Street sold for $400,000. We're at $494. It's only 2,500 square feet. We're at 7,177. So I didn't have anywhere I could go with it. Any question?
No, sir.
Thank you. Sir?
One more thing to mention with this comp, right here beside it. If you look at all the parking they got dozens of parking spaces, dock space, plenty of room for trucks to turn around, deliver and stuff. So even though this is 10,000 and we got 7,000, we got very, very few parking spaces. They got a huge amount of parking. And so I think that certainly justifies a little bit of a difference in value there.
I think there is a difference. And then, what did you have on that property? $100 a square foot?
97.
97, yours is 68.
Yeah.
Difference right there in 30%.
I know it's been a while. You remember what you paid for that building? I know you probably bought it from the bank.
315.
315?
Yeah. The other one's this one over here, this old Century 21 office.
Yeah.
You know, it's sold for in the fours somewhere. It's about the same size, but it's 25, 30 years newer. So that's more of a newer building without all the problems that old building we've got has. So those are just a few more things to keep in mind.
Tab number 15, parcel ID number 09301033, Roland Drive Investments, LLC.
All right, this is a commercial piece of land on Roland Drive. Has access running to the shops at Nottingham, are running through the property. They bisect it. Also has frontage on Nelda Drive. Is everybody good with the location?
Sir, I'm good.
Okay.
This one went up year over year, appraisal over appraisal, whatever you want to call it. This one went up 78.43% in one pop. We don't agree with that, going from 202 to the 360, and then I think it may have been lowered to 339.
It is.
Okay, still don't agree with that. I don't know how to do it on this computer here, but the majority of this property down here where my pointer is, there's a stream that runs through this property, and it comes across this property, and then it joins another stream. So there's actually two streams that run through this one parcel, and they join. So this got this thing kind of divided up in little pieces. And then down here on this piece along Roland Drive where my cursor is, there's an awful lot of wetland and floodplain area down in here. So, you know, again, we've tried to sell this thing several times, no interest whatsoever. It's underwater. It's got streams on it, and it certainly doesn't warrant a 78% increase in value. Very, very little buildable area on it, so it's just holding the earth together.
Is that where the Carolina Hills live?
It probably, it wouldn't shock me. I can't tell you for sure though, man.
Did you know about the creeks and flooding when you bought it?
Yes.
Okay. That was a long time ago.
So I'll tell you what we bought it for, Mark. The reason we bought that property is because it included this piece right here where my cursor is, and we own the Hampton Inn with some other folks, and we needed an expansion. Hampton Inn was requiring us to make an expansion. So we basically bought all this property to be able to get that little piece out of it. And so what we've got left, in our opinion, is just a remnant. And so that hopefully cleared that up.
How many acres is that? You remember? I'm trying to.
6.5, and I bet there ain't an acre of it usable.
I see it now.
And if anybody wants to give that 339 for it, we can go out in the hall and make a deal real quick like.
Only cash.
Yes, sir.
Only cash.
No, we'll finance it, Mark, at that price.
Any questions for Mr. Boggs? Ray?
No, sir.
Mark?
No, sir.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you very much.
Joe?
All right, once again, not aware of any wetlands or flood on this property. You know, I guess it referenced sale price. In 2006, it sold for $297,500. We got $339,300 on it. That's $51,722 an acre. I've got a fair number of sales right in the area that are similar that support $51,722 an acre. Now, like I say, I can't speak to, how developable it is with wetlands. I don't have any information. I got nothing to go on with that. Okay. It won't show wetlands. That won't show.
And so the original sales price was what?
297,500.
And that included the parcel that was cut out, excuse me, for the Hampton, right? I mean, he bought more than 6.56 acres originally, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sales price included the usable property.
Mm-hmm.
So 297,500.
I said, and I don't know whether it's usable or not. I have no proof.
Yeah, but well,
right.
The one that Hampton, that usable property, which is, and how many acres did y'all have to buy? Well, addition. What's the addition Hampton acreage
I
on?
can't remember, Randy, what that exact is, but if I had to look at it, it's probably about an acre or less. It may be 3/4 or something like that.
But you had to buy the entire tract to get that piece of
Yeah,
the
they wouldn't
watermelon,
subdivide it.
huh?
They wouldn't subdivide it, just sell us what we needed. They made us buy the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I have given a 15% discount on this property for that access road and for the shape.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Tab number 16, parcel ID number 09342114, Bugs Materials, Inc.
All right, this is an industrial piece. It's on Rocky River Road, and it's just south of Old Charlotte Highway. Is everybody good on location? Okay. There's the Martin Marietta.
I got it down.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, this piece of property, first of all, to access this property, you have to come in right here where my cursor is. And this is a stream, it's the Dry Fork Creek, and you have to cross that. And we've had an engineer design a crossing. What it requires is those keystone retaining walls on both sides and a triple barrel pipe, about a 40-inch pipe, and we priced it out. That's what we do every day. And that one crossing was in excess of $300,000 just to get into the site. This, where my cursor is up here on this one side, along this property line up here and down to about where my cursor is right now, is the only high ground on this property. All of this down here is wetland. It's been delineated by a wetlands engineer. I can prove that if you guys need it. I don't have it with me. The stream runs all the way back through here, and I think you can see it going down this property edge right here. So if this is some high ground right up here on this side, I'm sorry, the stream goes down through here. And there's a pond back here on the city's property, and all these streams and ponds tie together. But this high ground right here, it's good property, but there's this stream you got to cross again, and we've had that designed by an engineer. Clint Lawrence here in town did it for us, Randy, and that's another $300,000 crossing. So even to get to this property and build anything on it, and to get to this one and build anything on it, you got to spend $600,000 just to get a driveway or a road or whatever you want to put in there. And then all the rest of this in the bottom down here is wetland, floodplain. There's a sewer easement that runs through it, so obviously there is sewer, but you know, it's a hurdle to spend $600,000 just to build two more or less bridges across these streams just to access what little bit of high ground there is. And if I had to guess, out of the whole acreage, The high ground's probably less than 25% of it. And this thing went up 26% since the last revaluation, and nothing's really improved on it. It's still just sitting there holding the earth together, and you still got to spend $600, if not more now with the construction things like the cost is increasing. So it's probably $750 now to get to it.
How many acres total?
I'm sorry?
How many acres total on this tract?
Oh, let me look. Andy, I can't remember. Seems like it's 19 or 20 if I'm not mistaken.
Are you seeing it, Mark?
I'm not seeing it.
22 and a half.
In our information, though, where am I missing of that?
Randy, let me zoom out and I'll show you where it is. You know where the little hot dog stand is on the corner?
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just asking on the information that, where, in this book.
It's right there on page 3.
Is that the color sheet paper, Randy?
Well, it's actually,
The record card?
see,
Right there, I see it now. Okay, good deal.
And then you can see
So, Tree, you know, the county has it at 413,200, correct?
The paper I'm looking at is 445, but then this other one here shows it at,
413,200.
yeah, 413,200.
And the 353 is what the old valuation was.
Correct.
All right.
How long have you owned the property?
I think we bought it in 2008, maybe, something like that, roughly speaking.
Did you sell off a piece of it?
We did. We sold a piece that was inaccessible, that again, we'd had to cross the daggone whole wetland to get to it. It was this piece right over here. We sold it to this guy.
All right.
So it's even less property than it was. So it was 28 acres, now it's 22, so, and that was high ground.
But you knew about the flooding or the cost because y'all looked into it. So you knew.
Well, we knew it was wet, but we didn't realize when we bought it that we was gonna have to spend the money on two big major stream crossings. No, we didn't. That's just, you know, you win some and you lose some, and we lost that one.
All right.
Okay. Any questions, Ray?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Judd?
Okay, we totally agree with a lot of the information. We feel like we've addressed it. Of the 22.56 acres, 8 acres of that, we have 90% off reduction. 11 acres of that, we have 60% off. And that's for various things, shape and so forth. We only have 4 acres of this property around the front there that we would have at a typical rate, which is $63,000 an acre. This property is currently appraised at $18,315 an acre after you apply those adjustments. Now, when it was purchased, it had 28 acres. In 2008, it sold for $12,214. So we're at $18,315, and I have comparable sales. I have one right down the road from it that was a flag-shaped lot. Let's see if I can pull that one up. Oh, I didn't type it on. I'll say it right-handed. And this property had a couple little buildings that the scouts had used and a pond on it. But this is, there's our subject property right here. And there's this piece here. And that one sold for $33,000 an acre. And it didn't have a lot of the problems, but it is a flag lot. And so, like I said, it sold for $33,000, and we're at $18,300. We feel like we've accounted for it,
And, industrial property, and especially in this area, has gone up in the last few years, and we feel that the value that we have on it right now is fair.
Got a question, Mr. Chairman?
Good question. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you.
All right, Velma.
Tab number 17, parcel ID number D8312001E, Tournament Drive Investors LLC.
If it would please the board, these are the next three hearings are all for the same. It's Emerald Lake Golf Course. And instead of dividing them up, I'd like to speak to it as a whole. I think, would that be agreeable?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they're all the golf course.
Yes, sir.
So
And
that
I'm
would-
gonna put on the main, which will be 18, hearing 18, and put it on the parcel number, because that's where the clubhouse is, and that's where the main property is. Those are just portions of it.
Right.
All right, everybody know where Emerald Lake Golf Course is on Lawyers Road?
Well, this is the big one. And I'm adamantly opposed to the value that's been placed on this one. It's way too high. Nobody's buying golf courses, and if they do, they're buying them for fire sale values, except in Hilton Head, South Carolina, which that's a destination golf market, totally different than what we have here. They're charging $200 a round to play golf down there so they can justify, and they got a 12-month season. We got about an 8-month season, and the other 4 months are November, December, January, and February, which aren't too, nobody wants to pay even $75 to play golf during those months. When COVID hit us, we had 75 weddings booked, which is where we realize a sizable portion of our income. All 75 of those weddings went away. We got 0 in 2020. So at the end of 2020, this thing was reevaluated in January of 21. The income approach is obviously where you get your value in a golf course, because when somebody buys it, they look at your income and they pay you a multiple of that income. Now, the other way to look at it would be if you wanted to sell this property to a developer. And you guys know I did that too. And there's this little development that was put in right here where the cursor is. They installed a force main on a pump station that goes down through here, and it goes over, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it goes to Crooked Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant, which you may or may not know is at capacity. I've checked on it, calling Union County Public Works. We don't have the capacity in the current treatment plant to be able to develop this property. Certainly, a golf course is not the highest and best use because it doesn't generate enough money or cash flow in a year's time to pay the property taxes on it when they're due in January. So every year for the past, ever since I can remember, the owners have had to contribute capital in January just to pay the property taxes on it. So here's what I'm faced with, is if my property tax bill goes up from the current value right at, let's say, $2,231,000 is where it sits now, and if you add these three parcels together, it's proposed to be going to $4,937,000. I'd be much better off to put goats, cows, pigs, or something else on it and just put it in the farm program. At least I wouldn't have to make a capital contribution in January just to pay the property taxes. So that's kind of where I'm at with this thing. Certainly don't want to see it grow up in fescue and have a fence around it, but that, I'm gonna be faced with a business decision if I have to if I have to eat this number. And so, you know, it's just, it's not something that is economically feasible for us. Now, maybe that changes when the sewer plant's upgraded. And then if it can be sold to a developer who wants to put homes on it, or if the wedding business picks up. I think we did one wedding in 2020 out of 75 that we had booked. And it's very, very slow picking back up now. I mean, we may have done 5 this year, and we're already 7/12 through the year, and we don't have that many more scheduled for this year. We might have 3 or 4 more scheduled. So from an income perspective, nobody's going to pay. I mean, the cash flow off of this thing is basically zero. So if somebody will pay a multiple of 5 times 0, that means they're going to give you 0. Obviously, it's worth more than that, but it's not going to bring a big number like some of these other comps on here. And Stonebridge at 198 acres, is that a sale or is that a listing?
Just listing.
Yeah, y'all know what good a listing is. 0. Ain't nobody going to give $8 million for Stonebridge in their right mind, ever.
Is it listed as for sale,
It's been listed since
the
2019.
golf course?
Yes, golf course.
Yeah, I can't ever see, I know the golf business, and I'm a numbers guy, and I study the number. We just had a mid-year financial meeting on this golf course. Last Friday was our financial review on it, and it's not doing any better. I mean, it's just a horrible business model, but nobody's buying them. If somebody'd come along here and give us $8 million for that golf course, it'd already be sold.
Let's talk about sales. Okay, so 19 was a kind of a normal year. I'm sure you had wedding events out there. When was the upgrade to the clubhouse?
That was done in 16 and early 17. I think it was finished in 17.
So let's say 19 was a normal year. You had golf, you had wedding events.
Yep.
So being a golfer, I know last year it should have been a banner year for you on the golf side.
It was.
And then, but on the venue side, I know it was probably the worst year you'd ever had. So
it was.
Sales compared to 19 versus 20, golf went up, revenue went down on the venue. So what kind of drop in sales did you have overall?
Randy, the golf historically, and we got about since 1996, we got the numbers on this thing. You can play more rounds for less money or less rounds for more money, and you can't generate more than $1.3 million on the golf course. And you know what it costs you to keep the golf course open with the greens and the staff and all that? $1.3 million.
Yeah, that's
I mean, so that's just what the numbers are. The only hope you have for making any type of positive cash flow at all is your events and your weddings and your Rotary clubs. And I mean, but they just went away. We didn't have a single Christmas party last year. We don't have any schedule yet for this year. Everybody's still up in arms. Now you got this Delta variant coming. I mean, who knows? It's just, I don't really see any daylight at the end of the tunnel here. That's why I'm so adamant that this one's, I mean, on the best day of its life, you know, it's where it's at. It ain't going any higher.
All right, Drew, those numbers you're talking about, did you provide it to the county?
No, sir.
You did not? So we can't verify those numbers, can we? We have no clue what's going on as far as the true numbers. Is that right? Because they would have to, all right.
Let's hear from the county, Drew. So Joe,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As Mark said, would it help you to have the numbers that Mark's asking about?
Well, like I said, we have no way to verify it or analyze it or anything at this point, so we just had to rely on the cost approach and sales comparison approach. As far as the cost goes, we're using residential rates from the surrounding area, and then we apply the value of the holes as a site improvement for each one, and those are placed, and they were in our schedule of values as well. The clubhouse was built in 2016. Also has a little pro shop along with it, and its own cost. And what I did was we tried to pull sales and find sales in the region, but we also, you know, went as far as we can because we don't have a lot. There's not a ton of golf sales, but we're able to find
several relatively close. Hilton Head, of course, is a resort area, and that's why those properties go for 8.6 to 10.4 or even $23 million. Our grand total on everything we have is 5.2. And like I said, we normally don't put listings in here, but just because didn't have a lot of information to go on this at the time of the revaluation, Stonebridge was listed for $8 million. Of course, listing, they generally don't sell for what they list for, so even if you took a percentage off and it went for $6 million, and we're at 5.2, we felt like we're probably still in line with the cost and the sales. We saw that Firethorn in 2015, Firethorn went for $8.5 million. Superior golf course, superior facilities. But the difference between 5.2 and 8 million should get you pretty close to that figure. We also found, there's a sale in Raleigh. It went for 9.8 million. It's a superior golf course. Sold in 19, it's a little bit before the pandemic, but we also, if you look at some of these other sales, they're during the pandemic. There are sales that are going on. We just don't have any that are very close by that have occurred recently.
Did they placed on it for the big one?
For all of the parcels.
Yeah.
Everything, all three of the hearings that
You're
we're
adding
looking
all
at.
those up and.
I came up with $5,229,300
For all
for
three?
3 parcels.
So, okay. No more questions?
So here's the dilemma, okay? I know enough to be dangerous about the golf business. So the developer bought a piece of land, and so he came up with a decision. If I put a golf course out there, it brings a premium on these lots out there. Okay, and then when all the lots are exhausted, all the lots are sold, you got a golf course that was really a function of the developer. And so then he turns around and he's got a golf course that it kind of exists. You play golf, the upkeep, the maintenance. I agree with him. It's kind of you spend $1, you get $1. That's all you do in that thing, and you provide a service to golfers. Can he sell it for 5.2 million? Absolutely not. That'd be a terrible investment for somebody to do that. But anyway, that's a toughie. You got something?
I'd like to offer something, Randy.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mark mentioned verifying the income. I have no problem hiring a local appraiser here in Union County to come in and audit our books and do a verified appraisal based on the income approach. If the county would agree to accept that, I'll pay for that at my cost. On the income approach, not on the cost approach or not on the land value approach or anything like that, just on the income approach. And that is one of the 3 authorized ways to appraise a piece of property.
So what would you say to that if we said, all right, we want two sources. We want sold for development or sold from the income approach. I mean that, because I mean I heard you say it. If you sold it to a developer, then the value goes way up.
Right.
But
There's no sewer.
That was there again, you may not have the utilities.
I've tried that, trust me.
And I understand that's a problem for the entire county.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
We are ready to deliberate. Parcel ID number 06090033.
Chairman, I'm going to have to say it's 10 minutes to 12, and I do apologize. rest of y'all, but I've sat here for a long enough time that I don't think I can go through each 20 and actually discuss it and get through this process. So I'm gonna have to ask if we can table this for another day. And I know I'm the third person.
No, you're fine. So my recommendation would be, because we all know the situation he's dealing with. Recommendation would be to table this today. We don't have anything scheduled for Wednesday. We come in as planned on Wednesday and do the deliberations for today's hearing.
Okay, I can, sounds good to me. I'm done.
Because if he has to leave, you can't make rulings anyway because you don't have a majority.
You hearing that, Drew?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's the way I like for this thing to go, Mark,
Yeah.
is that, on Wednesday, I don't know about your schedule.
I flew in to be here today, and I'm flying out Wednesday morning at 9:15.
Okay. When,
I wouldn't be here Wednesday.
what's your next availability, Drew?
I'll be back on the 10th.
So I think, fair to all parties, I think we don't go back to deliberation. We start and we do highlights of what we just went through, and then go to deliberation. Because I don't think we go to deliberation. We'll forget what we're talking about here. So we'll do highlights of the entire thing again. Let's just do one day for him exclusively. Don't put anybody else out there.
Do we have anything scheduled for the 10th? Well, whatever.
No.
No,
Okay.
but the 10th is a Tuesday.
Okay, so it's got to be either, it's going to have to be the Wednesday, the
Wednesday.
11th.
Let's see, that's it.
It'll be Wednesday the 11th, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I've already got a commitment on the 11th. I will see if I can change it.
Okay.
I'll see if I can move the guy who's supposed to be meeting on the 11th. I'll see if I can move it to the 10th and do this on the 11th.
Okay.
What time?
9.
9.
Okay. Let's just assume I can make that work
So we're not we're gonna hear you again,
on the 10th.
and we're gonna do highlights. We won't get
11th.
in depth like we did,
Kind
but
of a recap.
we'll do all the properties again, and then hopefully that won't take 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll
Okay.
jump into the deliberation stage.
Okay, perfect. That's fair enough. Thank you.
Okay.
That'll be
Thank you.
Wednesday,
Thank you.
Wednesday the 11th.
What's that?
Wednesday the 11th at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'm gonna switch around what I
Okay.
had.
Okay.
Need a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and please don't throw my notes away. Leave this, now,
Yes.
are we meeting? Are we
Yes.
meeting again this week?
Just today.
Just today? Are we meeting Monday?
No.
No, our
No.
next meeting, other than this one, would be the 23rd.
So the 11th will be, okay, so don't throw my notes away.
No.
All right.
No.
We'll bundle everything up and put it in storage.
All right, do I hear a motion we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. That's accepted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time, ladies. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Chairman, we do have the other cases. Drew wasn't the only one here today.
Good point.
Well, those are going to have to be, your board member's gone, you don't have a quorum.
We'll hear them, I guess, same day.
Well, we'll have to discuss it, because we'll have to bring him back, too.
No,
We got his. Unless you disagree.
I don't think it's equitable.
Well,
Fan and I will talk about it.
we'll discuss it and let you know.